Hello there, everybody. What's going on? Haven't done a line session in a little bit of time here. Sorry, we're gonna miss you. Yep. All right. Hey, how's it going? Hope you're having a great day. Don't know what side of the world you're on. You're ending it Thursday. You're beginning it Thursday. Hope everything's going well. Oh, hey, look, it's like a heart attack over there. That was fantastic. So let's see. Welcome everybody. Thanks for chiming in. Appreciate all the hearts down there. That's fantastic. Makes me feel all good about myself. Just wanted to be able to just check in and just see how everything's going for you guys. And looking at adding a different kind of value in this segment since it's live, and that way, I have a little bit of a message, but I want to see if there's anything that's on the topic of your guys' mind. Maybe there's something going well for you that you want just me to be like, hey, congratulations, that's awesome. You know, other people here to be able to put down some hearts and say, hey, way to go. Or maybe you have a question that you want me to specifically answer for you, but just to be able to give you an idea. Sorry, my hair is like all jacked up. I probably need a haircut. Anyway, so I'm on vacation this week. I typically work 90 days and I take a week off, be able to recharge, get things in place. I'll still occasionally check my email just because I like to stay connected. It's hard to be able to, for me, and to just totally disconnect, right? So when I first got here last Friday, I had to just half the day working, shooting a bunch of final emails and connecting with people before just jumping full in on this stuff. You have an awesome, thank you so much. That's super thoughtful. Wow, thank you so much. Social media marketing mommy. I'm going to pin you, and that way we're going to have people connect with you because that's just super thoughtful of you to take time to text that out, with your thumbs or with your finger. Maybe you're swiping it. I don't know. We all have different ways to be able to text it out. Or can you watch live on? I don't know if you can watch live on a desktop yet, but if you are, maybe you typed it out. So that's the idea. And then I want my videos to be a little bit. I always like to keep my videos under 5 minutes, just because I have a short attention span, and so I know for me, if it's like, dude, it's like I load this video up and it's like 30 minutes. I'm like, oh gosh, there's no way I'm gonna watch this thing. So I will listen to a lot of stuff in like 3 times the speed. So that just helps me like consume more information at a quicker pace. And so I want to be able to have the YouTube videos be a little bit different kind of content, where I want this one to be live. That way you guys we can talk and have a conversation. Stefan, what's up, buddy? You're now in Holland, right? Like, I think that's where you are, from the Netherlands, right? So you ended up moving, right, after school. Then let's see. Good to see you. Your videos are great, very personal. Hey, thank you very much, Ann, for saying that. I'm going to pin you. Obviously, we had social media marketing mommy, right? I pinned her because she said a nice compliment. I want you guys to connect with her. And then, of course, we have another nice compliment here from Ann. And again, thank you anybody that decides to say, hey, nice comment or nice video, nice content. Super thoughtful. Renee, good to see you again, my friend. And I want to be able to make sure that this live session, it's a little bit of a different cadence, a different interaction, so that way we can, that's correct, the Netherlands now, that's right. So I want to be able to make sure that it's live, and that way we have more of a dialogue, less of this dictation, right, and less of a lecture mindset, so that way we can have a real fun engagement, whether there's one of you or there's 10 of you. So for me, I value each single person that's online right now. Someone's putting a little heart attack button. That takes effort. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not a lot, but it still takes effort. It takes your time and attention, and I'm super grateful for that. One thing that I'm really interested in right now is just how much availability of information there is, and how much value I'm getting in sales, in my sales role, from engaging with people. In giving them information, right? So, for example, I've been running a lot of seminars lately, and I'm amazed at how many people afterwards come up and say, hey, I want to talk with you one-on-one. Where if you rewind me, oh my God, when I got in the business like 12 years ago, running seminars, they were just kind of old and done, but it just seems like that seems to be a better medium because everything is available online. We can Google almost anything, and so now something's going to kind of come back our way. So it's kind of interesting to see that. I just recently put up, I'm in D.C., so I went to go see the U.S. Holocaust Museum, which is just amazingly powerful, literally like almost started crying once you got off the elevator into the main exhibit, and that was just amazing to see. They had a nice little exhibit on Cambodia, if some of you are familiar with the killing fields, and that was it's just awe-inspiring, right? That humanity was just so grotesque, and unfortunately, genocide still exists, right? The sad thing about it, there was talk of there was walls that existed back in those days, and so anytime I hear the word walls, it kind of gets me nervous. And then was able to then go to the African American Museum, and that was really cool to be able to see just the power and the strength and the influence that the African American community had in the United States, which is pretty phenomenal. Which, by the way, if you ever watch the Olympics, notice how diverse the United States is, right? From a genetic perspective, right? So when the Chinese delegation comes out, it's all Chinese people. I don't see one blonde-haired dude out there, or blonde-haired girl. I don't see a black dude in China, right? You look at South Korea, you look at Japan, you look at all these other countries, there's very few that have the genetic diversity, the racial diversity, the cultural diversity that the United States has. And so that's definitely something that we have, right? We're not a melting pot. We're more like this tossed salad. You know what I mean? Like, we're all keeping our cultures. We're all keeping our ethnicity. And people, they look at me, they're like, oh, you're Asian. Dude, I'm not. Like, I was born here. My parents were born here. My grandparents were all born here. My great grandparents were like kids when they came over. We're basically, we call ourselves Twinkies. We're like white in the inside, but we're yellow on the outside. So that's just how we are. Are you still out there, network? I am a little bit, Mason. I will meet up with a guy tomorrow here, but it's mainly just for family. When I got married last year, it was my best buddy. It's his sister-in-law. He introduced me. So his wife's sister, that's who I married. So it's kind of cool. This buddy from 20 years from college, which, by the way, if you don't know why you're going to go to college, go for social relationships. It's expensive, so try to stay local, right? Try to go to a state school. Keep the tuition really low if you're just going for social. But I have 8 really good, solid relationship friends, 20-year relationships that if I needed anything, these are guys I could go to. I could like count on them to be there for me. They might not give a kidney for me, but maybe they would give me, a few dollars if I needed it. And those relationships I hold super, super dear. There's very few friends that we have in our lives that we would just take for decades, right? Andre, hey, good to see you. You found your wife in college. Yeah, no, people find some really great relationships there. And so that's the African American culture, by the way, just finishing off that thought about the National Museum of African American History and Culture, it's just powerful to realize that this was the kind of cool thing, is you go through different disciplines, right? Like music and TV and movies, sports, the whole multi different sports, and then you see the different engagements and the impact that the culture had, and that was just really, really, really impactful. Great seeing you. Hey, thank you, social marketing mom. That's super thoughtful of you. So connect with her, guys. So she's super thoughtful, making nice comments. You saw that she was giving the heart attacks down there, and then we have Anne, who's also giving a nice comment. So I like to pin up people's comments. It's super thoughtful. Just people are nice, right? And I like that. I think that like love is such an underrated value right now in the world, right? Where it's okay, everyone can have their own opinions, and that's totally fine, right? Like, and because your opinion differs from mine, doesn't take away from my opinion. I don't need to convince you that I'm right. You don't need to convince me that I'm right. And we can still have love and and appreciation for each other's differences and the different ways that we view the world, and that's okay. But one of the sad things that we see right now is that because, let's say, your point of view becomes, let's say, law, then I'm upset about it and I hate you for it. That's just how democracy works. If you live in the United States or a country that has like some freedoms to it, that's just how it works. Like I tell my sons, like if we all vote to go to a restaurant, right? And some kids wants Chinese, other one wants pizza, and we vote and pizza wins and Chinese doesn't, well, guess what? Doesn't mean that you should be sitting there the entire time complaining while we're having pizza. Because if not, dude, I'm going to leave you outside in the car with the heater on if it's cold outside. Maybe the window's down if it's hot out. But you're not going to eat with us because I don't want to hear your whining because your vote didn't win. So I think we can have just a lot more love in existence for each other. And it doesn't mean like, lovey-dovey. Like, I just mean that we're really respectful, right, of other people's opinions and what they're doing. So that's been nice. And then I've been working out even though I'm on vacation. So because for me, exercise, it's a lifestyle choice. I'm not trying to get to an 8-pack, although I would like that, right? It'd be nice to have, some abs there. It's been a long time since I've seen those things. They've been buried behind lots of fat. Yeah, you would agree. That makes a lot of sense. And then, so it's just trying to, balance that out and have more of like a lifestyle approach, right? So I think oftentimes we get stuck in this like mentality of, oh, I need to get down to a certain weight. I need to get down to a certain size. Hey, Mason, I didn't travel my dumbbells, although I do honestly have a 35-pound dumbbell in my car. I keep it behind me. Hey, Sherpy Sherps, thanks, Raul. Thanks for chiming in, buddy. And then I will pump the 35-pound waiter. Luckily, my buddy here had some 20-pound dumbbells, so I was just doing those. And so I think oftentimes we get stuck in this mentality that I want to get to a certain weight or I want to get to a certain like look, I can see my cheekbones or I can see these abs, I got nice guns. Like we get to this like end result. And ultimately what we're trying to get out of fitness is that it's long-term, right? Like that it's a lifestyle choice that we're going to stay healthy and fit. And so oftentimes I find like like when it comes to like diet and nutrition, you want to do like a diet that's sensible for you, that's maybe long-term for you versus so that you're just trying to like quickly do, like I think cleanses are valuable. I think fasting's valuable, but it should be done in small increments. So that way you don't feel like, hey, it's that's funny. Let's see those gins. So it's funny that we have a tendency to like do these crazy diets of like the Atkins diet, right? Like I'm only going to eat meat and, or I'm going to like starve myself for like the next 2 weeks, and so there's not a lot of value to that because you have a tendency to have habits, right? When it comes to consumption. And oftentimes you have, the downfall is that we end up having, these poor habits that we need to rid ourselves of. And so before we can rid ourselves of a habit, typically we need to replace it with something different. So oftentimes I find that people that struggle with smoking, they had to replace it with something else, right? So in order to stop smoking, they decided to go for a walk, right? The downside is that some people, when it came to like smoking, hey Alex, how you doing? When it came to smoking, they inputted food. so what happened is they gained weight because they stopped smoking, which wasn't what they want to do. It's your body forever. Yeah, you got to treat it right. Actually, or like the struggle that I think a lot of people have when it comes to just their overall body is, number one, they don't like it, right? There's flaws. We're all flawed with something, right? Like I got lazy eye. I'm not the white weight I want to be. I got a little bit of fat here. Well, not a little bit, a decent amount. And maybe I don't like my hair. It's definitely getting thinner, by the way. It's not as lustrous as it used to be. This nice chia pet of hair. We all have these flaws, right? My eyebrows are too thick, or they're not sitting in these like perfectly like shapes like this. I have really slanted eyes. But that's just how we're designed, right? We just have these flaws, every single one of us. The downside is that when you and I look in the mirror, we have a tendency to only see those flaws. That's all we see. We're like, oh man, like look, I wish I had bigger butt, or I wish I had, bigger chest. We always just look at these flaws instead of saying, hey, you know what? This is me. This is who I am. This is what I bring to the table. Good, bad, and ugly of it. So it's just us. And so I think once we can get to a point where like, okay, we want to become the best version of ourselves and understand that we have flaws, understand that we aren't exactly that we want it to be. Hey, Sherman, I've been crazy busy. I need to update you on what's going on. Absolutely. Raul, then hit me back. Dude, just DM me if you want, or just feel free to chime it here while we got the time. Shoot, now I got to think about Alex, don't worry about it. First be comfortable with it, then just try and get better. Yeah, absolutely. It really is. Like the downside is that because we view things, right, from TV or whatever medium we're watching, right? We have a tendency to see things as like, okay, we need to look a certain way. That becomes the downfall, right? Is that we think that that's what people think because that's what's thrown in front of us. We're, who wore it best, right? Now we're judging people on who wore this dress best. And so we think that people have a tendency to judge us the same way. And in reality, people just don't think about us that often. Haha, we will always have flaws, and that's absolutely, Mason. With flaws and amendments, absolutely, yeah. It's just like the old trash thing, right? One man's trash is another man's treasure. I notice your views have been getting larger over time. Yeah, yeah, they are. It's kind of fun. So, and the funny thing, Alex, is that you've been here from the beginning. So you've been here when it's just been one person, just you and I having a one-on-one conversation, and have to go. Hey, we'll tune again. Thank you so much for that. So everybody, you see the nice compliment that Anne put there. Feel free to connect with her. People that give out compliments are just probably nice people. You know what I mean? Like, so that takes time to give out compliments. That's just thoughtful person. And so I think oftentimes where we end up recognizing that we're flawed and accepting that that's who we are, then that makes us more easier to like ourselves. And I don't mean that like it's like Simon Smalley's like Saturday Night Live skit where it's like, hey, looking in the mirror saying like, everybody's going to like you. You're great. It doesn't need to be like that kind of pep talk, although if that helps you, I think that's useful to do. I think oftentimes, though, it's looking in the mirror and just saying, you know what, this is who I am. I like me, and I know I have flaws, and I'm working at being a better person. And ultimately, we're all going to be judged way more harshly on how we treated other people than what we looked like or how much money we made. Keep with the great work. Hey, Patrick, thank you so much, man. Let's all connect with Patrick because that's thoughtful of him to say that. Thanks for the heart attack. I'm sorry. So I've always loved myself. That's perfect, Alex. I think all of us need to be able to like ourselves and love ourselves to an extent that we feel comfortable in our own skin and not allow other people to change our view of what we have of ourselves just because they have an opinion, right? Everyone's got opinions. They're kind of like buttholes. Everyone's got them, but they all stink. Especially if it's about me and if it's negative about me, like, okay, like, you more than anybody else, right? And better than even your best friend. Like, you know what goes on in your own mind. You know what you've been through. You know the way that you've been treated. And so it becomes a much different situation when you're struggling with something and recognizing that, hey, this is me and this is who I am, and that's kind of where it's going to be. So that's where I think oftentimes for each of us, we need to be able to embrace our flaws, right? Like there's this really cool graphic going out there called flawsome, right? Where that you're flawed, but you're awesome, right? So you recognize that, hey, I have some problems. True, we all do. We're not perfect. We got things going on that we don't like about ourselves, but we're still awesome. And that's really how I want to make sure that I always view and engage with people is from that mindset of saying, okay, everyone is flawsome, right? You're flawed. You're going to have different flaws than me. You're not going to like my flaws. I'm not going to like some of your flaws, but we're still awesome people and we can help each other grow and be better. And that's ultimately where I think we need to go as a society. Instead of just always pointing out like the problems with people, because it's so depressing to be able to just say, oh, that person's doing this or this community is doing that or did you read about this or did you hear about that? That is just not a way to be able to view the world. Because unfortunately, the truth of the matter is that we have a huge population now in the world, right? There's 7.3 billion people. Man, I remember when we hit like 4 billion, that was a big deal when I was like a kid. 37 now. So it's amazing how many billions of people there are. And so unfortunately with that mass of people, there's gonna be some weirdos in there. And if you don't know who the weirdos are, then maybe you are a weirdo, but just don't kill anybody, man. Treat people nicely, like love people. It's just the way to go. I think people have a tendency to just like go nuts. They go postal on people just because they have a different opinion than them. And that's okay. Have a different opinion. Still love you. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm able to do is engage with you guys in a much more intimate fashion in these live sessions, and then I'll save some of my documenting of what happened during the day in the YouTube videos. So if there's anything that you guys want to see, you want to engage in, feel free to DM me, feel free to text me, feel free to shoot me an email. I want to be able to make sure that we have a different engagement on these live sessions than we do on the YouTube videos that I'm putting up. I think a lot of people would rather bring others down than Mason. I think that's how some people are, but I think if we really were to check on people, like they'd actually be more willing to help other people if they saw the benefit of it, right? So if we ended up being just if people are going to be negative just based on who they are, or critics or cynics, but if we give them the option to only be positive, I think we can kind of change that a little bit, right? So for example, I remember one person like someone made a typo here in a text, and the other person here in a live session called the other person an idiot. And I said, I was like, dude, like, there's no need to name call someone just because this is a text format. Someone's going to misspell something. So there's no value in being able to do that. So hopefully in situations like that, we kind of shut it down to avoid people from getting too off the reins and in kind of a negative spiral. So again, if I can be of any value to you guys, please let me know. DM me, call me, shoot me an email. I want to be able to make sure that we have really good engagement. Have a fantastic day, everybody. We will do this tomorrow.